Welcome to Martini Time. Let's ask the frog to jump in. Remember the fable, The Princess and the Frog? And the princess lost her golden ball in the pond. And a frog said, "I'll get it for you." But he said, "You'll have to take me home with you." And she said, "Okay." And so he jumped in the pond, came up with her treasure, her golden ball. And the princess went home, and the frog said, wait, you forgot your bargain." And he went plop, 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 and followed her home and knocked on the door. And the princess, the father said, open the door. The frog was there. And so the king says, "You promised the frog to let him in, so he's got to come in." And so he ate dinner with her, and then she went upstairs, and he said, "I want to go upstairs with you." Okay, so we plop, plop, plop upstairs. And the story ends two ways. She either throws the frog against the wall, and he becomes a prince, or she kisses the frog and he becomes a prince. I don't know, you pick the one. It's like the life of Pi. Pick the ending you want. But the point of the story is that the pond is symbolic of the unconscious. And so the frog is a threshold being. You see, the frog is a threshold being because he can go under the water and he's above, like a submarine. He's at home in the conscious level of our waking world, and he's at home in the unconscious, in the psyche, where the treasure is buried, where the energy is contained, where the insights are. You see, that's where it's at. And if we can't get down there, we can't bring up the passion and the energy of life. It all comes up out of the unconscious. It's not lying around on the ground. It has to be brought up, you see. But we need a threshold being. We need a vehicle. We need a metaphor. We need a way for the conscious mind to access the unconscious, where the archetypes and the stored energy is, waiting to be released. Insight, the source, you see. So anyway, I brought that up because I made a title here on this talk, Have a Zen Fit. Okay, I did some talks, and when I used to do talks in the morning, I called them Zen Fits. I like that. It's ambiguous. It's ironic. Zen Fit, what does that mean? You're having a fit? Or Zen Fits? So let's look into that. Funny thing now, yesterday, after I gave this talk, a friend of mine who I respect was critical. Why, you sound like I really just can't figure out, why you're trying to share wisdom, but you're telling people to drink martinis. And another friend said, "You look drunk." And so I was thinking, had this thought, well, maybe I won't have them. Maybe I'll stop doing martinis. I've been doing this for a year. Maybe I'll just do Zen Fits. And then I noticed my mind was, should I do martini or Zen Fits? Zen Fits or martini? Should I give up the martini? Should I keep the martini? And then I got into a little feedback loop. Wah, wah, wah. I couldn't choose. Wah, 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 wah. And my energy left. And I did, oh, the hell with it. I won't even do a talk. You see how quickly that can go? You can watch our mind doing that. As soon as you get caught in a wah, 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 you just... that. So how do you get out of that wah, 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 this or that? So I went down to my Facebook, and I was responding to a comment, and it was about the moment being new. How do you make the moment fresh? How do you make the moment full of energy and excitement? How do you make your moment passionate? You see, because you're the moment. I mean, it's not like the moment is sitting out there and like a car, you got to do something to the car to make the car run. No, you're the car. How do you make you run? You're the moment. How do you make you exciting about the moment? How do you get you involved in the moment? That's the question. The moment's not a thing. It's you. There's no real division between you and the moment, although we think it is. That's an assumption we have to look at. And that assumption creates choice. You see how that works? So if I'm looking at the moment as something, and then should I do a martini or a Zen Fit and have no martini? Should I do this or that? Now I have just divided the moment into two, and they're both equal. One's as good as the other, and I can't choose now. So now I've split myself into two, and they're going ngang, 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 you see. Neither choice can put me back together again. A choice can't make me whole again. You see that? So I was writing on Facebook, and then I was talking about a moment is a happening. Remember the 60s? Everything was a happening. Oh, it's a happening. And he's unplugged. He's a happening. It's happening. That was... And so it was the idea that this is spontaneous. This is the Grateful Dead. They're a happening. It's that idea that it's just happening. So it's not being chosen. It's either this or that. This is good or this is better than that, so I'll do this. It's not that, you see. That's not a happening. A happening is when it's happening. There's no choice there. So how do you make your life happen? Now and then I remembered a T.S. Eliot phrase. At the end of our exploring, we arrive where we began and see it for the first time. Now that's a happening. When I explore in all of my search for the happening, the search to make my life happen, to be spontaneous, authentic, creative, compassionate, loving, all those things we like, you see, we're seeking that through choice. And the choice divides the moment into this or that. So I keep dividing them. As I search for wholeness, I keep dividing wholeness. You can notice that. As I search for completion, I divide completion into this path or that path. Should I study Toli or Krishnamurti? Should I take yoga or do Buddha? Should I be a vegan or eat meat? Should I go to Tai Chi or Pilates? Should I do this or that? You see. And that, so we're looking, if I do the Pilates, I'll be whole. But I'm not. Because I am seeking wholeness through division and choice, you see. And that's not happening. So how do you get to a happening? Well, so I went to the computer and I wrote out this thing about happening, and I remembered T.S. Eliot's little phrase, and I looked it up, and I thought, well, at the end of my exploring to find myself to make myself happen, at the end of that, I end up where I started, and I see it for the first time. It's a happening. But how do we get to that? Well, is there a difference between choice and surrender? Now, choice is an effort. In other words, it's an act of my will. I choose that. And our culture says freedom is having choice. So our whole idea of freedom is having choices, being able to choose, going to Walmart or Macy's or whatever, it's all about choice. And of course this creates a culture that proliferates choice. The movie Hurt Locker is all about that. The soldier goes to, he's back home and he goes to Walmart and he's got to get some cereal. His wife said, get some cereal. And he's standing there looking at an aisle of silver, cereal, all these choices, and he's kind of like paralyzed. So then he just says, fuck it, and he grabs the cereal and throws it in the box. So I guess it's kind of like that in the sense that should I do Zen Fits with no martini or do a martini, you know? So I just said, fuck it, I'll have a martini. So, and at some point I may say, oh, fuck it, I'll just do Zen Fits. But the point is, I think what I'm struggling to share with you is that when you're ready to be a happening, you just let it happen. There's no choice in it. So you kind of like have to give up the stress of choice. So choice is a stress. Particularly if there's a punishment involved. And my favorite Zen coin, I see Zen, that's why I talk about Zen Fits, I see Zen cones everywhere. And the one I see everywhere is that if you say, the master is speaking now, the Zen master says, you know, if you say this is a martini, you're wrong. If you say it is a martini, you're wrong. Now choose, which is it, or I'm going to smack you with the martini glass. You see, now that's a dilemma. Is it a martini or is it not a martini? But I have to choose, which is it? Well, I can't choose. If I choose one, I'm wrong. If I choose the other, I'm still wrong, you see. There's no right there. So that's kind of like if you choose this or that, you know, when you divide the whole into two, and then you choose one and not the other, you have still divided the whole. And now you have this, which you said, well, I choose that, and now that's the whole, but then I divide that again. So I keep dividing the whole through choice, trying to arrive at the original one, which is what T.S. Eliot is talking about. At the end of my choices of this over that and that over this, at the end of all my choices, I arrive where I began, which is the whole, and I see it for the first time. That's a happening. So I'm back with the martini glass and I see it for the first time. You see? And that's life. We're always doing that. You can notice ourselves doing that. Whenever we get into stress or a dilemma, what should I do? Come save me. Come tell me what to do. Maybe this teacher. Maybe Eckhart Tolle will tell me what to do. Maybe Jesus, you see. Maybe Trump. Maybe the liberals, whoever. Maybe MSNBC will tell me what's true. Maybe Fox News will tell me what's true. You see. So we can't, we never arrive at where we started, which is our original wholeness, which is this moment. This moment is our original wholeness. We're always now. It's always whole. It's always here. But we chop it up and divide it like a butcher in the butcher shop, chopping up the sausage. Think about that. Thanks for dropping in.